as we say all the time on the show, we don't talk about battery advancements because they're all hogwash. There are things that we actually at least once a day get an email from somebody who wants to be on the show, even though we don't have guests. Their PR company is emailing us trying to get the so-and-so president of whatnot on the show, and because he's got this great battery development. Well, it doesn't really work out. I mean, it could. Some of them might work out, but they could be 20 years away before they figure out how to make them safe, how to make them charge fast, how to make them economical. There's all these things have to be checked off before they will work properly.
Yeah, and most of the battery technology available now is essentially good enough for what we need to do. But continue.
It is. And CATL is now the world's largest battery manufacturer. So this is not somebody in a lab. This is the people who are actually making batteries and having billion-dollar battery factories started around the world. Huge. Chinese company, of course. But this is, without them, I mean, there'd be no EVs. This is one of the biggest players in the world for stored energy in EVs and otherwise. So CATL recently, I think it was a couple of years ago, came up with a sodium-ion battery, right? And that is now being put into cars. So, you know, it wasn't an announcement that basically would fizzle into the ether. It was real. And now they have an announcement that says that they have a high energy density battery. They made this announcement last week. And I think it's significant. A lot of people significant, even though we lack some details. So normally we don't like to talk about this, but they don't fool around, Brian. The energy dense battery has an energy density of 500 watt hours, which is twice of what is out there now. Now, energy density, I don't expect everyone to know what this is, so let me explain it. It is the amount of energy in a certain volume and weight. So if I have, I don't know, a milk jug, and it holds twice as much battery power as another milk jug and weighs the same, that is twice as energy dense than the other battery.
Yeah.
That's a good thing because batteries are heavy. They weigh down EVs. The more batteries you use, the more you need to move that battery around, right? So there's kind of a, a point of where the car is getting too heavy and there's not enough room for them.
Yeah.
But a big thing with battery density is airplanes, because you got to get them off the ground. Well, battery density of 500 watts is thought to be a very good place. This is 500 watts per kilogram, by the way, for electrified flight. And they know that. So they are working with airplane manufacturers to develop and sort of certify these batteries for safe flight. And that's going to be a huge deal. Hell, I might want to invest in them. Yes, because it's twice of what their next battery can do. And that's next battery can power an EV for 1,000 kilometers. You know, like you say, the batteries that are capable out there now are pretty damn good. Well, doubling your energy density is a big deal. And they're safe. They're supposed to be safer, too. They're a semi-solid state. They're calling it a condensed state battery, which is semi-solid state. CATL claims, we've been talking a lot about solid-state batteries, that those are still quite a ways away. It could be 2035. There's still a lot to work out, they're saying. Toyota promised them by now. They're not here. A lot of people have promised them by now. So, yeah, those are one of those things. But this is a semi-solid state battery, and they call it a condensed state battery. I won't get into the nitty-gritty of it because I don't fully understand it. You won't want to hear it. So, for now, it'll be in some EVs by the end of this year.
Wow.
The end of this year, they're going to throw them in some EVs. They've already got a deal with an automaker to try them out and put them in an EV. And but it's going to be a lower energy density than the potential for the product. So they're not going to see the full energy potential for this type of technology by the end of the year. The maturity of the battery in full production is still likely years away, according to analysts. So yeah. But it will see the light of day by the end of this year and get better. And, you know, a lot of batteries, LFP batteries are getting better. You know, they were kind of really low energy density, and now they've really improved those. And those are the cheaper batteries, right?
And it's okay if these ones cost a little bit more, especially to start with, or cost more just for airplanes. So an airplane can afford a more expensive battery. And then eventually this technology presumably will trickle down. And then everybody will get it at that, lower cost.
But if you need less batteries and they're more expensive because you don't have to have as many to push the car around.
That's right.
it sort of comes around in that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a semi-solid state battery. He says there are still things to be worked out with solid state batteries and that are currently not viable, which is interesting to hear from them. Currently, mainstream lithium-ion battery cells have energy densities between 200 and 300 watts hours per kilogram. NEO says it has a new 150 kilowatt hour semi-solid state battery that will be available in a few months that has an energy density of 360. So yeah, other people are making progress too beyond 2 to 300 watt hours per kilogram, and that's very important. And you know, they make so many of these things that the technology and the price trickles down. The learning of the manufacturing and all that. Last week, the company CATL announced its first production sodium-ion battery to power EVs from Chinese brand Chery. CATL revealed its sodium-ion batteries just a couple of years ago, claiming the ability for 80% charge in 15 minutes, which is 3 minutes faster than what Hyundai and Kia are doing with their 800-volt architecture and Porsche. They're producing them, and we'll talk about them a bit later in the show because I want to touch base with that a little bit more. So that's why I'm highlighting this new battery. It's lots happening with batteries, and this is the people.
Yeah.
This is the player that you want to hear good news from because they're not fooling around. They're real. It's real. That's very cool.
If it's coming from CATL, that's good news.
Now, what doesn't matter with energy density, Brian, is grid storage because you can use a cheaper battery and a larger footprint because it doesn't matter. It can be as heavy as you want it to be.
Yeah.
Because the Earth will hold it.
Yeah.
And if it's a bigger volume, that's fine too.
The Clean Energy Show.